With the use of my archival research skills, I happened across a quite old copy of Henrie Cornelius Agrippa's work of the Vanity and Uncertainty of the Arts and Sciences in the Rare Books Library within the special collections here at the University of Georgia. The text serves as a compilation of Agrippa's arguments against various facilitations of knowledge during the mid to late 1500s. His warnings of the vanities and uncertainties which surround the act of obtaining contemporary knowledge are also present within this work. This piece's original copies are believed to have been printed between the years 1526 to 1530. This variability is due to the piece being reworked, translated into various languages including German, Italian, French, English, and Dutch, and even due to the fact that this piece was expanded multiple times by Agrippa himself. The cover of this piece appears to have been achieved by a method known as paper marbling. This is accomplished by patterns of color suspended or floated in plain water that is then transferred to the desired paper surface. In order to combat this aspect, utilizing tools provided by the Special Collections Library, such as book weights, served as more than helpful when studying the contents of this book. While this piece may be free of illustrations or any artistic aspects, it is interesting to note how much artistry is put into the fonts that are found within this book. Changes in fonts can be seen even within sentences. I use the first red bracket on this picture to the right to demonstrate this. You can see where the main font, which is very stylized and thick, as well as very difficult to read if one is not used to this kind of font, goes into a smaller and thin, more easily digestible font. I use the second bracket just to draw attention to this font that is used throughout the book predominantly. As I was interacting with this object, it became increasingly evident to me that the letter W was oftentimes, but not exclusively, replaced with a double V. Upon first inspection, I surmised that this was due to the text being translated multiple times. After conducting some research, I found that this double V usage was due to a printing press's single double U block. Over time, this developed into a double V block that finally developed into the letter W as the contemporary English language knows it. As I conducted more research, a second explanation became evident to me. Agrippa was from the city of Cologne, Germany. Cologne was a quite important center for printing in the mid-1400s to the mid-1500s. In Cologne, printing was done mostly in Latin due to the influence from the university's ties to the Orthodox Thornist theology. The ancient Romans inscriptions were found to use a sort of double V in place of the W until the modern W was produced. Whether this is connected to the double V's present in Agrippa's piece is still unclear to me. Agrippa was known for taking information such as the Greeks' mythological and philosophical texts, and even those of contemporary Christian texts of the time. He would take this information out of context and morph them into his erratic and theoretical messages and even warnings against any human institutions, whether they be of the sciences, math, art, literature, economics. Nothing was untouched by Agrippa in his texts. Here I have included a quote from this piece, which demonstrates the usage of Adam's ejection from paradise alongside a story of Socrates, which he used to create his own storyline to back up his claims. This style, which Agrippa wrote with, is known as dispera intentio, in Latin meaning simply scattered meaning, was later to be picked up by quite popular Renaissance intellectuals. With this style, knowledge is merged with the guise of prophecy. Henrie Cornelius Agrippa can be categorized as a polymath, meaning that he is a practitioner of, or knowledgeable of various subjects. This is because he was known for his occult philosophies, alchemy, and magic. According to Stanford University's Encyclopedia of Philosophy, Agrippa was awarded a reputation as one who professed to overturn all the science, and that his works clearly define moments in the broader philosophical, religious, and moral meditation on the social significance of learning during his own time period. For a historical figure to possess agency, this would mean that they possess a sort of authority. In this case, it is apparent that Agrippa had made a name for himself. Whether this was good or bad is debatable at best. However, Agrippa indeed was found to be fraudulent in his claims of a doctorate in medicine. If Agrippa was capable of lying about his achievements, this puts his entire character into question, as well as the claims he makes in his writings. Agrippa's agency overall is unreliable, and his claims stand as paradoxical. To conclude my curation of this piece, I noted that the production and craftsmanship of this book is not glaringly dissimilar, nor does it stand out when compared to other works printed during this time period. The focus of this piece is entirely on its language, rather than visuals. Henrie Cornelius Agrippa was an anti-intellectual who stood as an opponent to human advancements in knowledge. He cited ancient Greek stories and the Christian Bible, both out of context, to support this message of his ideals. Agrippa was both paradoxical in his writings, often contradicting himself, and he was an overall unreliable source.